And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I like fantasy games. I'm looking for games that allow me to go into a dungeon and go through and fight off people. And just, for me, they can be really hit and miss. Some of them are really great, and other ones are just really bad. Well, here we have Adventurer the card game. And unfortunately, this is one of those very bad ones. This is a card game which essentially is a card game version of Talisman. And I'm not a very big fan of Talisman, but this one is even worse in a sense. Each character is going to pick one character. So, for example, here you can be the Goblin or Makul the Swordsman. Okay, the characters are pretty much the same thing. Both of these characters, the Swordsman and the Goblin, they both have a 0 attack, but one guy, the Swordsman, he can jump past falling floors. Another guy can skip collapsed areas. I really don't see the difference here. There's 2 cards in a deck that are collapsed areas, and there's 2 cards that are falling floors, and so they both can avoid those 2 cards. But the other 2 cards hit them. So what is it? And both cards pretty much have the same effect. There's almost no difference between at least these 2 characters. You got the wizard who can open lock portals. There's no difference between the characters, and I don't know why they pretended that there was. But the gameplay is very simple. You take the top card of the deck, you turn it over, you see what it says. If it's a treasure, unguarded treasure, yay, you got it. If it is an enemy, like this gentleman here, who is what is he now? He's a ghoul. He's +3 attack against you, who are +0. So likely he's going to beat you. And then there's this mechanic where you can turn your hero card to show that you've been taking hit points until you're dead, and then you start over again. If you beat this ghoul, then you get a hammer, which is a +3 attack. Well, that's useful, and you can use that in future battles. So you do that each turn. You turn over a card, unguarded treasure. Oh, an enemy. Now you can run away from enemies, but I don't really see what the point is, unless you have a whole lot of good items and don't want to die and lose them. But the game becomes, in a sense, a yawn fest. Turn over card, fight, take the treasure. Fighting is rolling a 6-sided die. The enemy rolls a 6-sided die. Who wins? Very, very boring. I'm really disappointed here. And all the enemies feel the same, and you keep going until you get to, eventually, in the deck, you'll find Count Lordrak. The enemy, the vampire, or Count Dracula, whatever you want to call him. He's a +6 to attack. So you need to be pretty well armed, and you also need to find a stake card. And there's a few stake cards scattered throughout the deck. Well, if you have the stake card and you beat him, you win. Now, I just don't see the audience for this game. I don't know people who are going to be content with turning a card over, fighting, building up your character. If people want to build up their characters, there are so many better fantasy games that give more options. Runebound, World of Warcraft, the adventure game, even Talisman gives more options than this. You can pick different weapons and such. This game is just, there's nothing. You turn a card over, and that's what you do. You turn a card over, and that's what you do. You have the option of running or fighting, but what kind of option is that? It's just really, I don't know. This game was just a huge disappointment to me, because I thought, well, a card game going through a dungeon. I have yet to play a card game version of some fantasy dungeon battle that I thought was any good, and this one just hasn't increased my thoughts. I don't want to see expansions for it. The system itself is just too dull. I tried it with kids. I thought maybe this would be something that kids would come, but they just got frustrated by it. To fight a hard enemy and lose, and fight a hard enemy and lose, while the other guy finds an unguarded treasure, a great weapon that he can use against the next weak monster, and he builds himself up slowly, while the other kid's just getting slammed all over the floor. Bad game. I'm sorry. I cannot recommend it at all. Don't even try it. You're looking for a role-playing dungeon quest game. There's many better ones. This is one of the worst.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.